Today we're gonna cover new bike day and what I do after getting in a new bike, some of the changes that I make, and some of the things that you need to do to get the bike ready for you to ride. This is gonna be a helpful one for new riders, so let's get started. Diving in, I'll show you everything I do after the warm fuzzies of new bike day have set in. And if you bought the right bike, those warm fuzzies will never fade. Hopefully that's the case with this new 2022 Diverge I just bought. We'll start with the changes to my bike on the repair stand, both cosmetically and those that make your bike the perfect ride for you. And then we'll move on to some adjustments and necessities outside to make your new bike ride the way it should. I built myself a bike room with every tool I'll need to build and repair bikes. While having every tool on your wall and a nice repair stand makes setting up your new bike easier, it's not necessary. For each tool I use in this video, there will be details of it in the description, and possibly a link where you can buy it. Okay, enough jibber jabber. Let's put my 2022 Diverge on the repair stand. The first thing I'll do is remove these reflectors on the handlebar and seat post. It might seem like I'm removing these simply for aesthetics. That's one of the reasons, but there are better ways than these reflectors to visually alert other road users of my cycling presence. And I need this real estate for bike packing bags, my Garmin 1030, and more options for hand positions on longer rides. There, that's looking way better already. Next, I'll remove this plastic disc, commonly called the dork disc. Why the heck is this disc here? And what's its purpose? And why even remove it? Well, as I remove it, let me talk a bit about it. Simply put, the main function of a dork disc is for safety. If the chain bounced over the largest cog, your chain could wind up in your spokes, damaging them and possibly sending you into an injury. If this were to happen, it would be because your derailleur was improperly set up, or you got something caught in the drivetrain like a stick or a rock. Or maybe you crashed or leaned your bike against a tree oddly and your derailleur hanger got bent, throwing your rear derailleur out of whack. In these scenarios, the dork disc keeps the chain between the cog and the disc, keeping your spokes and yourself intact. Well, in theory. I haven't ridden a bike with a dork disc since my 1999 Specialized Stump Jumper. I've had my chain on various bikes bounce above the largest cog without damage or injury on many bikes. The only issue I had was my entire drivetrain was stuck. The free hub allows the bike to stay in motion while I safely pull over and fix the drivetrain to a point that can get me home. In my opinion, the dork disc, while required by law in some states, it's pretty useless. It's removed by nearly every rider, and it creates a lot of waste from a community that prides itself on reducing our impact on the earth. Others feel, since the dork disc has such little impact, the best option is to just leave it on. What do you think? What should you do with the dork disc? Take it off, leave it on, not even worry about it? Let me know in the comments below. Next up is one of the most important changes to make, in my opinion anyway. I'll be swapping out these fixation flats the bike shop put on my Diverge with a set of pedals that work for me. As one of the main contact points with the bike, choosing the right pedal is important. They make a huge difference to your confidence and comfort while riding. This is a gravel bike, so I'll use a pedal and shoe combination that allows for recessed cleats. I've used the inexpensive and useful Shimano M520s on all my gravel or bikepacking bikes for a while now. Sadly, they stopped making them, but I'll put these well-loved set of 520s on this Diverge for now. These have seen a lot of bike adventures, so I'm guessing the bearings will go out on them soon. When that happens, I'll swap these out for a set of Crank Brothers Candy pedals I bought specifically for this bike. Here's my technique for removing and installing pedals. I'll use a good pedal wrench like this Park Tools PW4. This technique works on both the left and right cranks. Let's start with the right. Put the crank and pedal towards the front of the bike, no greater than the 3 o'clock position. I typically use the 2 o'clock position because it works best for me. Put your pedal wrench onto the spindle with the handle pointed towards the rear of the bike. Put your left hand on the handle of the wrench and your right hand on the pedal. Using a bit of force, push down on both the pedal and the handle of the pedal wrench at the same time. And there you have it, the pedal comes loose, quick and easy. Keeping the pedal wrench on the spindle, drive the crank forward until the pedal comes off. Do the same thing on the left side. Only use your left hand on the pedal and your right hand on the wrench. The Shimano M520s make it foolproof to install. There are markings on them showing you left and right pedal and which way to rotate to install them. I'll just hand tighten these and then snug them up a bit with the pedal wrench. Well, not as easy because you don't have the same leverage or torque that you do on the inside of the spindle. On the other side of the spindle, you can remove the pedals with a hex wrench. In fact, after I install my Crank Brothers Candy pedals, the only way I'll be able to remove them is with a hex wrench. There are no flat edges on the pedal side of the spindle in which to use a pedal wrench on. There's one last thing I'll do to this bike before taking it outside for adjustments. When the bike shop assembled the bike, they allowed the front brake cable to sit on top of the handlebar after putting the tape on. Like the pedals, the handlebars are an important contact point. If I were to leave it like this would become uncomfortable, especially on longer rides. I'll just undo the tape a bit and push the cable a bit lower, wrap the tape back up, and there we go. Now it's time to head outside for a few adjustments. Unless the bike shop made some adjustments specifically for you when you bought the bike, you need to adjust the seat and handlebars. To do this, go on a quick shakedown ride with a multi-tool. As you ride, stop occasionally and adjust for your comfort. This includes your seat height, your fore and aft position of your seat, and the position of your handlebars. Unfortunately, my body is always one of those that's in between sizes, and I find it difficult to find just the right size. So nearly every bike that I bought that I did not build, I've needed to make adjustments. Don't worry too much about torque settings here. Just don't tighten bolts too much. Just enough so that you get the bike adjusted for your comfort. Once you get back home, grab a torque wrench and tighten to the proper settings. You likely won't be done here with adjustments. There's nothing like a long ride to let your body know how much refinement is needed to make the bike fit you perfectly. In your first long ride, make sure to pack your multi-tool to make those adjustments. Finally, one last thing you must do that virtually no one ever does on new bike day. That's bed in your disc brakes. Don't do what I did with this Diverge. I got so excited to ride that I forgot to bed in my brakes. The purpose of bedding in brakes is to prevent inconsistent braking. Because I forgot to bed in these brakes in a controlled way, there's a spot on my rotor where the surface is higher than the rest of the rotor. At some point I pulled hard on the brakes, probably downhill on my first ride, and too much brake material got onto the rotor causing this high spot, and now I have brake rub. Okay, here's how to bed in your brakes. What you want to do is transfer over brake pad material onto the new rotor. You're filling in all those tiny pores in the rotor so that the pads and rotor have equal and consistent braking for all your future rides. Find a long straight section of road where you can do this. Doing one brake at a time, get up to a moderate riding speed. Then begin squeezing the brake pad slowly until you reach about walking speed. Get back up to speed and do it again. You want to do this 10 to 15 times per brake. I've heard some riders suggest going up to 30 times per brake. All I know is it couldn't hurt. Never at any point lock up the brake. It would transfer too much material to one spot of the rotor. What some guys do, and I'm going to do it now, is they pour a little bit of water onto the rotors. Kind of acts as, like when you sharpen knives, you've got some kind of material on there to sharpen the knife against the stone. That's what the water acts as, kind of like a lubricant. That's what I'm gonna do. It's gonna be kind of a little for you, a little for me type of situation here. That's because of the water on there. And stop making noise. That's a good thing. Water helps that process along. I'm going to try and fix this issue in the next video. Subscribe now to catch that future video to find out if I'm successful or if I'll need to replace my rotor. All right, two of the things we need to do to this bike. One, more with the brakes. We need to adjust the brakes so the pads are balanced. They're a little bit out of whack. And the other is, after about 100 miles, you should adjust all the cables on your bike because there's going to be a little bit of cable stretch after that period of time. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.